One of the reasons I think the Mini Cooper S attracts so many people is because it's such a sleeper. I mean, you can take a car like an S, build it, particularly for track use, with something around the ranges of 150 horsepower at the flywheel. Now, that doesn't sound like a big number until you take 150 horsepower and put it into a 1,000-pound car. That's the equivalent of putting 500 horsepower into a conventional car. So on the track, they were just known as giant killers. I mean, my vintage race car on a track with a lot of corners and places I can use my handling to my ability, I can handle something like a Porsche 911, which pisses off the Porsche people. I bought my first Mini probably 40-something years ago, paid about the equivalent of $5 for it. It was the British equivalent of a Volkswagen. Every young kid needed a runabout cheap car, and this was mine. For some reason I migrated towards a Mini, and once you drive one you fall in love. I think the Mini was just a revolutionary vehicle from its introduction. I don't think that even the designers had any idea what was going to unfold here with 40 years of production, but it was done initially for fuel, and the Mini was really introduced as an economy car, not with the intentions of having turned into the little performance pocket rocket that it is today. The initial Mini in its introduction in 1959, I think, was rated at 34 horsepower. The Cooper S of the mid-60s, the 1275 engine, was probably double that. It doesn't seem like a lot of horsepower perhaps, but when you start talking about propelling a 1,200-pound car down the road, even with 60, 70 horsepower unmodified, it becomes a pretty quick car. As things have evolved, there's always people trying new frontiers and what they can do in extremes, and I think the most popular modification we see today is the Honda engined Minis. There's a kit available that allows you to put everything up to the Honda VTEC twin cam into a Mini, which makes it a real sleeper. From the outside it still looks like that little 10-foot by 5-foot box. And meanwhile, you've got 250 or 230 horsepower or so breathing under the hood. That makes for quite a thrill ride. Built right and designed correctly, it's fast. I mean, if you imagine you've taken a Honda horsepower and put it into something with a lot less weight, it's like building a whole bunch of extra horsepower. Stability, I think, is the bigger problem. The people take it to an extreme, and it gets to the point, I think, that the high horsepower cars really outdrive the chassis.
Boys and the toys.
I don't know if there's been a loss between the old and the new Mini. I drive both. I mean, my wife owns one of the new Minis and I drive the classic Mini. I think we've become a generation of, people who expect more comfort. I wouldn't take a classic Mini across the country, but I'd be happy to drive one of the new ones as far as I need to go. So I think it's just something that's evolved with the necessity. But behind the wheel, I think you get the same thrill, but not with the same grassroots, seat-of-the-pants type driving that you would get from any older car. My favorite iteration has to be the Cooper S. I mean, performance is everything, but in general, the handling. I mean, a Mini just sticks. Once dialed in and once set up properly, the car handles remarkably. It corners like it's on rails, and it is the most forgiving car on and off the racetrack. And I've had some personal excursions. I hope the Heritage Garage has done a lot to contribute to the preservation of Minis, the introduction of Minis to new people who didn't necessarily know what they were. And you know, that's just been my legacy. It's something I love, it's my passion. I've been doing this for 40 years, and you know, every day is still fun to come to work. I love these cars and I love everything about them. So the garage is just an extension of me.